So I'm going to share two things. I'll just give some examples about the recent evidence that we collected, and then how we plan to use, and we have been using this evidence, and how we are communicating with them, this evidence to the policymakers. So a brief about who we are. So IID is a public policy institute, and what we do is that as we said, that our focus is to make policy public for an informed, inclusive, and democratic society. And we do so that we call it 3I mission. Is the inquire, inform, and involve. So inquire the evidence for policy, and then we inform the people and the policymaker. And once the people and policymakers are informed, we involve them in the process so that they can take informed decisions. I'll probably detail some examples later on. And particularly on education, we do assess learning ecosystem. We do learning assessment, learning employability, and learning the future. These are the 4 areas that we work on. Now, one of the key areas recently that we started working on with GPE is using multi-level evidence based advocacy. Why multi-level? I'll come back to it. And I'm going to share 2 pilot study. So we have just done the pilot, and once the pilot is done, the real assessment will be done next year. So we are trying to understand the learning loss due to the COVID. That's one thing. And also trying to understand the evidence on the resilience of our education system. So how the education system was working. In this piloting, for the learning loss, what we used here is with Path Network, there was a tool used called ICANN, International Common Assessment of Numeracy. The 13 PAL members, collaborated to develop the tool and used it. So we did this assessment in end of 2019, so just before the pandemic. And so we realized that if you have a baseline data of the same village, we can do an end-line assessment after the COVID now to see what was the result. So this is what we are going to share. So we assessed it in 60 villages in 1,200 households. Again, we finished the assessment 2 days back. Overnight, my colleagues just pulled some key data that we will be assessing and doing some, digging the data a bit more to understand, some, greater insights. But currently, as you can see, when you were assessing the children who could, understand or recognize the numbers or do some simple maths, the darker line is that pre-COVID, and the yellow line is the post-COVID. As you can see, for grade 2 to 3, in recognizing the number, in doing simple carryover, subtractions or additions, there is a fall. Now, mind you, this is not the same student. Okay, so we will, if we pull the data, the grade 2 of that year and grade 5 of this year, we will be able to do the same student, but that will probably do later on. But as we are doing this, it shows even the education system we had, because particularly this grade 2 to 3 of current students, they did not went through the school at that time compared to their peer who were in grade 2 and 3 pre-COVID. That shows the huge changes in their learning losses. But it's interestingly the same with the grade 4 to 6 on few areas. There again, number recognition, simple number operations, there is a fall. We have also done in 2 particular villages, 2 separate villages, to survey about to understand the perception of the teacher, student, and parents. Also to understand whether, because during the COVID, we have seen, TV, electronics media was the main, source to use the, to the inclusive education. But again, still in villages that we have assessed, 99% household did not have computer, 80% did not have, internet. And about the children's learning loss, 56% of the parents and 60% of the teachers, they feel the students have forgotten what they have learned before the school closure. Again, around 56% of the parents and 40% of the teachers thinks children are now less interested to go to the school after reopening. Around 60% of the parents and teachers thinks children are now less attentive toward studying. So these are the few concerns that we see among the parents, teachers. Now, but when we have the evidence, that's the major focus of this session, is how we communicate. Well, communicating, this is something now we keep in mind. We realize that, a boulder is very difficult to move, right? So that's like national level policy advocacy. You keep pushing for years, you don't know whether you have nudged or not, whether you, have actually, moved at all or not, sometimes a little bit. The rock, you can push a bit. So that's our district level advocacy. In the district level, we can do few things. At the village level, you can actually bring some change. One village, one school, you can bring some change. That's like moving a pebble, you can change it. So at IIT, when we do take programs now, we want to make sure that our program and research communication, everything, address all three. So that while we are trying to move the boulder, we are at least moving some rocks, and while, changing some pebbles at the village level. What that means is also, I do also have an ecosystem, policy advocacy ecosystem that we have developed. We have a youth network across the country. We have hundreds of volunteers, youth volunteers who work. So we have a civil society network of NGOs. And then we have a parliamentary caucus on social justice that, on the top, that helps us do, this is the parliamentarians, sitting parliamentarians help us do the policy advocacy. We use them. The way we share the evidence is we use this data with the youth network in policy camp, where we train them about the data and evidence. And in 2 villages, and the pebble thing, they will be using this data to run TARL, the teaching at the right level, to particularly address the learning loss of these particular schools. So that happens with the young people that we engage. We also regularly organize, share this evidence with the parliamentarians, but not in seminars. It's very difficult to bring a minister or MP in a seminar and you share it and they will understand. So what we started doing is we call policy conclave. The education policy conclave is in the March. We already had 2 last year. What we do here, we'll bring in around 20 MPs who are interested to work on for a 5-day residential program. And it's in both formal and informal sessions. A lot of formal because, for 5 days, they are stuck in a place. Only we invite them, not their personal secretaries or others. So, they cannot go to any other businesses. So, and we focus more on also that, they should experience some that, the immersion experience. For instance, there is a lot of activity going on where they try to understand the, inequality in education and other issues. Also, there would be a lot of, lecture session or also, communicative sessions. So this is what we do with the policymakers. And these policymakers have actually developed and organized this parliamentary caucus on social justice. So this is the national level policy advocacy. And they are also the member in the parliamentary standing committee on education and others, so that they can also push this through the standing committees. And then we started both at the local and regional level a number of learning collaboratives, where we bring in these MPs, these policymakers, these civil society leaders, where we'll regularly sit and assess the problem, and then they try to identify the issues, and then they will, with the education officer at the local level, and regularly they will sit and see what problem, needs to be addressed now, and they can review. So so this way, we approach it in these three. At the pebble, or the moving the pebble at the village level, we are aiming to bring changes in 2 model villages. At the moving the rock at the district level, advancing changes to make the bringing the policymakers to to do their programs and projects more participatory, that they will engage with the people more, and that moving the board at the national level, we are doing the policy, regional and both national and regional level policy advocacy with this data. So again, so this is how at the multi-level we take these evidences to the policymakers. Thank you.